Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Fresh off, 2 joint practices with the New England Patriots have come to a conclusion. We learned a lot more, I think, this Eagles team than we did about that from that Baltimore preseason game about a week ago. But 2 good joint practices have come to a close. They'll close it out with a preseason game tomorrow evening, Saturday night, for the Eagles and the Patriots. J-Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday? A big week for the Birds this past week.
Yeah, doing well. We got to get past this preseason game. Boy, we got 2 more preseason games. That's a depressing thought.
I'm ready for them to cut it to 2.
Yeah, I'm ready for them to say, "Hey, let's just televise joint practices." I think the NFL would do better. To be honest, I think they could develop another package. They love that. If Park Avenue's listening, sell that as a separate package. You'll make more money than the preseason games make you.
Actually, a good idea by you.
Yeah, they'll people will buy that. You saw the stuff now a little bit different because of the AJ Jalen dynamic, and they talked on the field. It's all gossip, yada yada, TMZ bullshit. But there was so much hype around this particular joint practice because of that. So, I mean, the average ones around the league going on, not quite as that, but people are really interested in them. And it's almost like their version of the preseason game atmosphere because it is so much more involving the key players. So I think it would make a lot of money, and I think the ratings would be huge. That's number one. I think joint practices would draw like more than your average baseball or NBA game. I really do. And they could sell them for a lot of money. A lot of money.
I could see it, no doubt about it. Yeah, and John, you're right about this one. Had obviously a little bit more attention on it because of the stories. John, that's what it is, though, man. It's a story. I know we focus a lot on football, but the stories still do drive the narrative in this world and in this league, and that's what it is in a way. It's still an entertainment business, and people are entertained by the AJ Jalen stuff. I, for one, John, I was happy to see him dap it up at the middle of the field. I know it's gossipy, I get it, but I liked seeing him dap it up in the middle of the field. 2 good players who came together and achieved a lot of success together. They've now gone their separate ways, obviously, but I thought it was cool to see Jalen and AJ dap it up at the middle of the field. I don't know what J-Mac thought about it.
Yeah, I don't. I really honestly don't care. I really, from my perspective, it just doesn't interest me. I mean, maybe if I was working for TMZ, I would shift my mentality and be and all that. To me, it's about football, and I hope you're right. I hope years down the road they can at least say, "Man, we did a lot of cool shit together, a lot of success, a lot of." I hope that's that. I hope you're correct. I hope time clarifies that for both of them. Other than that, I already hear the people, "Well, it's about the cameras." I've heard a bunch of people, and I'm like,
it's a lose-lose. If he doesn't go up,
I know exactly.
And then if he goes up, then it's performative. It's come on.
Exactly. So that's why I can't, I can't be bothered by that. I'm closer to it than most people. Not that I know everything, but to me, the whole thing was about football. And he didn't want to be here, and it's a shame. And obviously, he's a very good player. He dominated from all indications over the 2 days of practice there. And the Eagles aren't quite as good at wide receivers, to say the least. So it's disappointing from that standpoint. But the Mike Tomlin quote I always use: "You don't want hostages, you want volunteers." And he didn't want to be here anymore. So the Eagles did the best they could. Turn the page, and we'll see how it works out from a football standpoint. To me, that's what it's about. I don't care about Reddit rumors or anything else that people think they know. Wasn't happy in the passing offense, you know. But I hope they can, like I say, when they're both done, I hope I have a pretty good feeling that neither's going to have as much success that they had when they were together.
I think that's probably fair to say.
I hope it clarifies down the road for both of them.
John, I feel similar to you about that. We'll see what the Birds can do this year. John, speaking of receiving group, yesterday, we'll recap the practice yesterday. Looked like the Eagles had a good bounce back day, but both sides of the ball looked pretty good. Offensive line had a good couple days of camp. Makai Lemon did return in limited fashion yesterday. He had the pads on and everything, so he was a partial participant in practice. John, what would you make of some of the storylines that came out of day 2 of joint practice for the Eagles and Patriots?
Yeah, I know, again, secondhand, but from all the reports from people I trust that were there, I kind of look at it different than most people, as usual. I think it was portrayed in most avenues as a win for the Eagles, so that's a positive. I think the Sugar Ray Leonard people, for longtime listeners of the show, they know I often reference that. And what I mean by that is for non-boxing fans, before Floyd Mayweather, at least, Sugar Ray Leonard, I think, was the best defensive boxer of all time. And as he got older, and he had tremendous, skills when he was younger, he would just destroy people. But as he got older, and they kept offering big money for fights, and he probably shouldn't have been fighting, he took a different approach, and it was a very smart approach. It was basically play defense for 2.5 minutes of a round, and then do a flurry at the end and steal the round. And he did it, and he did it, and it was human nature. And they come out of it going, oh, wow. And it's like 2.5 minutes, he's just – and it's hard in boxing. I mean, people don't respect the defensive aspect of it, but that's even harder. So, but they remember the flurry. So what happened yesterday is the Eagles had a good finishing sequence, and they Sugar Ray Leonard everybody. Overall, some of the guys, Jordan Mailata was talking about the running game. That's what I'm focused on.
Yeah, it didn't have as
nearly as good.
Yeah.
Talked about having boxing gloves on because they were upset that they got handled the day before and that they didn't play as well. So I kind of look at it opposite. Like they didn't have a good practice and they used the flurry at the end to fool people. So I don't think it was as bad as it was on day one, and as it was portrayed, and I don't think it was as good as it was portrayed on day 2 from everything I saw. And this is all, I freely say that this is all secondhand, but from people I trust. I saw Zach Berman put Mailata's comments out, and he flat out said they had a bad day running the football. And that to me is not good, because that is what I'm focused on, especially without Devontae Smith and Makai Lemon in team drills. But the positive, Makai's finally back in at least a limited fashion, and he should be back on the practice field to start of next week after the preseason game. So that's positive, and so should Devontae, which obviously is positive.
Yeah, no, very positive from that perspective. Well, hopefully he gets out there, and hopefully he has a big contribution. John, are you expecting more use for the wide receiver 3 this year in this offense?
Well, in theory, yeah. But I mean, if you see the way the Packers spread the football around, you see the way, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan use multiple receivers, whether that could be tight end, could be receiver, but they should, in theory, they should be spreading the football around more, in theory. But we have to see. I mean, if you need to lean on Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, you lean on Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. A lot of that depends on Dontavian Wicks and Makai Lemon specifically.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do. I mean, they haven't used it a lot in the past, so I was wondering if, like, yeah, I mean, are we too high? Are we too focused on Lemon just because he's a draft pick? You know what I mean? It's like Jahan Dotson didn't have that big of an impact on that team last year. Yeah, he
No,
was a
but
wide
they are
receiver too.
shifting their
Yeah, right.
offensive
So it's really
philosophy.
the
So,
shift. Yeah.
yeah, it's more than
You know how Doug used to do the list of,
Yeah.
getting people involved. Well, how would you do that right
Nick
now?
does that too. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
feel like every
definitely,
coach does it. I mean,
they got a little, every coach does. You're right. They he learned that from Larry Karras. I get fined for saying that, but I'll take the fine. On the call sheet, you always have a section for your top playmakers. So previously that was, his first year it was Devontae Smith, and now we're back in year 6. That was before they got AJ. In year 6, it's now Devontae Smith again, and I think it would be, they put it by number, so it'll be 6, it'll be 88, and then it'll probably be 13. But when it was 11, 6, and 88, you felt, yeah, that's pretty good, man. It doesn't seem that way anymore.
So you got Smitty, Goddard, Wicks. Where would you put Saquon in that conversation? Do you think they're going to use that?
Well, in the passing game, I'm strictly talking about the passing game. No, I
know, but I'm asking on Saquon about the pass game too. I mean, do you think it's going to be a bigger role than what it's been?
I think it's going to be
offense.
I think it's going to be bigger, but I don't think he's. I just don't think he's capable of being, Christian McCaffrey. So I think it'll be limited by the standpoint. They'll try a little bit early, and they'll go, it's not that great. So let's go to a different direction. And he'll be, there'll be a couple wheel routes here and there and dump offs. But, he's not one of the top tier receiving backs. He is one of the top tier running backs, and that's where they're going to lean on Saquon Barkley. So he'll be involved, but if you're talking about that number, he's probably, in best case scenario, 5 behind Lemon. And, if they can get Will Shipley up to speed and he can show more consistency, maybe they use him as a third down back. And
I got a feeling Saquon might be above Lemon, but yeah, probably not. But it depends how.
Well, I'm just talking passing game. If you're talking about weapons, he's number one.
I'm talking passing game. I'm not. I mean,
well, I want to make I'm not.
I know what it's weapons. Saquon's number one.
I know what you. I know but I don't think other people know. So I want to clarify. If it's weapons, it's Saquon number 1,
right?
And number 2 is not close, and that would be Devontae.
Strictly passing game. I mean, I think Makai Lemon has to prove that he's a threat in order to be above Saquon. I know that's not how they've played, John. Me and you have had this debate before when they first signed Saquon, and I'm like, oh, can't you just line him up at wide now? Can't you use him in the pass game? And you were laughing me off the screen, and ultimately,
I got a lot of shit for that, but I get no apologies.
Yeah, well, I apologize because I was fucking way off. But this year, I do think it could be a little different just from the schematic approach. That doesn't mean I think they're going to turn him into Christian McCaffrey, but, does Jalen dump the ball off more? By the way, John, a side note to this combo, I think it would help Jalen to dump the football off more. How many great quarterbacks have you watched in your lifetime? I mean, they throw for 4,500 yards in a year, and 1,000 of the yards are dumping it off. Tom Brady dumped it off all the time. The good old take what the defense gives you. I think Jalen could benefit more from doing that a little bit more often.
Well, I think, different styles of quarterbacks. I mean, they have to dump it off. They have to. They're not going to extend.
But shouldn't Jalen, in theory, add that to his game, for the longevity aspect?
Think about if he was a dump off quarterback, think about how many big plays over the years you don't have. And, it's not an answerable question. And sometimes a dump off can turn into a big play. But, the reality is you're going to have to make a lot of mistakes to let a dump off go to what some of the extending plays that Jalen, both in the passing game and the running game, not only running it, but also extending it to pass it. Where if you have the Brady mentality, which obviously Tom had to have, he can't extend plays. So it's a different. If you look at all dual threat quarterbacks, they're not dump off quarterbacks because their mentality is extend the play, look for something down the field, or
which makes
run.
sense. I guess my mindset is more framed on that doesn't last as long. You know what I mean? Like that does, and we've seen it with Jalen. I mean, he was a better runner in 22 than he is now. Now maybe he goes back, but I don't know if he gets back to 22. Does he?
I don't know. He looks pretty spry. I think he did get too heavy last year. Not a bad heavy. He was jacked, but I think he got too heavy. From a cosmetic standpoint, just building up his body, and I think he lost some of his quickness. And he lost some weight this year, and he looks. And they've been using their best play in the red zone has been quarterback draw. When they spread people out, and they say just go with Jalen. It's been their best play in the red zone the entire summer. And they can do that short yardage as well. Now, Sean Mannion says they're still going to go tush push, which they probably will, at least until it starts to falter, if it does start to falter again. But I think he's going to have a better year running the football. He seems more equipped to do it. And it might be situational. He might be in the red zone. It might not be, might only be in short yardage. But I think it's going to be better. And then you have to see if he has the mindset. Look, if you want to shift and turn into that style of quarterback, that's you got to break a decade-long habit of trying to extend plays and say, all right, I'm just going to dump it off. And
it's definitely an uphill battle for somebody that's had the career-long skill set of Jalen Hurts. I understand that part of
and
it.
Then you have in the book of 1001 NFL cliches, one of them is you never go broke with something positive. So, what at 3 yards, 4 yards, whatever. If you're taking that on first down because nothing's there, it's a hell of a lot better than throwing the football away and it's 2nd and 10, or it's, you're losing yardage because you get sacked after extending, or a million things can happen. So it's obviously a give and take, but you never go broke going forward.
I don't disagree with that. I just wonder, whether the new offense brings more out of it. We'll say. I think you make still a good point, obviously, about why hasn't been a big part of Jalen's game, but I do think it's got to shift a little bit for him as his career gets deeper here. So we'll see what that looks like for the Eagles. John, yesterday sounds like, all right, so just recapping here on day number 2 of joint practice, feels like a little bit of a flip almost. The defense didn't have as good of a day 1. They had a pretty strong day 2. Riq Woolen bounced back. That was good. And then the offense, not to say that it didn't look good, but the run game was terrific on Wednesday. That kind of disappeared on Thursday. Hurts had a little bit of an uneven day, but finished pretty strong, as John gave you the reference to Sugar Ray Leonard. All right, so not bad, but
I'll read you Zach's description. The last period overshadowed what had been an inconsistent day for the passing offense, and that's put on my they Sugar Ray Leonard them, man.
Yeah,
they had a good end, and everybody said, yeah, they look good. Human nature, man.
Yeah, well, maybe there's some smart moves in that, man. John, we deliver a mediocre show and hit them with 20 minutes of fire at the end, and all of a sudden everyone's like, well, that's a good show,
Yeah.
Nah, we always give good shows. All right, so that's good. John, excited or not excited? That's not the right word for you, but Riq Woolen bounced back. You've been saying you were a little bit concerned about him consistency wise in camp. Sounds like he had a much better day on day 2. What'd you make of that?
Well, that's the concern. He's consistency. I mean, nobody questions the guy's physical gifts. They're absurd. But you got the whole Riq Woolen experience, evidently. And that's, what Seattle had some issues with, and what Vic has talked about, that consistency from day to day, even snap to snap, can falter. And, I think that's going to be a roller coaster for people throughout the season, because it can get frustrating when somebody's that gifted and they don't, have the details and the consistency and things like that. So I think you're going to see some really big plays from them, and some plays where you scratch your head and go, what the hell is this guy doing? So I think that's kind of the Riq Woolen experience, and that's kind of showing up.
I guess the bar is lower for him. I mean, if he's better than Adoree, like, I feel like it's a win, no matter what. Is that the wrong way to look at it?
I mean, I don't think there's that. That's where I've gone. I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to be better at that cornerback 2 position. He's going to provide more than the group as a whole. And even Adoree kind of settled things down late, but there's some limitations there. And yeah, I think they're going to be better. So at that position. So that's a positive.
Good stuff there for Riq Woolen. We'll see how he continues to progress through camp. John, Jalyx Hunt just keeps jumping out, man. He just keeps jumping out. He had another good day on Thursday. I think he had a strip of Ramondre Stevenson and recovered the fumble. Finished practice with a big interception, a diving interception. Jalyx Hunt is just delivering the goods through training camp. He seems poised for a breakout, John.
Yeah, he does. I mean, and I don't even know if he called it a breakout, because I think he broke out last year. But I mean, you want to see him take that next step and be a legit. Boy, if you have 2, if you can get Grenard back and Jalyx Hunt is playing at a top tier level, I can't imagine how good that front will be. You had Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Moro Jomo. If you're playing 50, if you're playing 40, you just have Jalen and Jordan, or Moro and Grenard and Hunt. That sounds pretty good if Hunt can keep up this level of play. But he's had an awesome summer. And he just looks like the kind of guy who's just natural. He's natural. He's a natural. And people just have a difficult time dealing with him because his athleticism is off the charts.
I think he's going to have a huge year this year. I think Vic is going to go crazy with him.
I don't know if that exists.
I just think I imagine if he's as good of a pass rusher in theory as like Grenard could be this year, just from a sense of getting after the quarterback. I mean, and you have Nolan now who's really, I think, a great 3-down edge. I mean, that's going to be a really good edge rusher rotation. Feels like it to me at least.
Yeah, it should be. There's no question. It should be. But for those looking for 20 sacks, I mean, that's not how Vic plays. He's going to function more on the pass rush as a group, the discipline, which isn't as fun, but it's better. It'll make you better as a overall defense. But I mean, for older Eagles fans, they remember Jason Babb, and you're not just going to have freelance and go, hey, go get the quarterback. We want to get you 20 sacks. That's not how Vic operates. And that's a good thing, by the way. That is a very good thing. So I think in the structure, he's going to have a big year, and they're going to be a really good defense because of that. But they're not worried about individual production, to say the least.
We'll see what that looks like this year. All right, John, keep rolling on here on day number 2 of practice. Jalen Hurts, what'd you make of his 2 days yesterday? Another ugly middle, excellent finish. Little volatile 2 days for Jalen in the offense, but what'd you make of Jalen's couple days of camp with the Patriots? I felt like, what was there, like a lot of interceptions? There was like 4 or 5.
Five interceptions over 2 days. That's not good, but I mean, some of them, from the description weren't his fault. Some were. I think it's similar to what I said yesterday in the fact that I don't think you can fully evaluate it until Devontae and Makai are out there. I think he's hamstrung by some of the guys. It's hard. You asked me yesterday, are they going to bounce back from a passing perspective? And I'm like, probably not. It's hard to, although they seemed a little bit better, but again, you still got Marcus Jones undercutting people, and it's like interception. I think that's because Wicks is your number one receiver right now, and he's not equipped to be number one. And then you got Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, Darius Cooper. So, I mean, if that were the regular season, would you expect, hey, we're going to go nuts in the passing game? I think the same thing is true in practice. So until Devontae and Makai get back, which all indications will be Monday of next week, I don't know how much you can judge the passing offense, other than they did a nice job at the end and were able to put together a scoring drive. And a lot of it was Goddard. I think Goddard started it.
That's where I was going next. Goddard.
Yeah. So I think, a lot of times when it comes to those game-winning drives, the most important thing is to get it rolling, get that first play. And I think the first play was to Goddard, I believe. So I think that makes sense because he's your top option right now.
We'll see how much of a use he is this year. I think he's going to have a big year, but I mean, I don't know. He did have the down year in the run game last year. You think that it's something that needs to get fixed, or in theory, does this offense help him on that areas and more accentuate his talents?
Yeah, I don't know, but I saw Greg Bedard mentioned. I heard him doing it. He's a Patriots reporter, and he was like, so it's interesting to get the version of the other side. And he was, like a lot of people, he's remarking how good the Eagles run game looked day one and how poorly it looked day two. And he was bringing up when Matt Patricia was running the offense in New England. I didn't know this. I didn't remember it. I probably knew it at the time, which was the curious call. It was sort of like Bill Belichick's Juan Castillo moment. Matt Patricia was running the offense. I don't know if people remember that, but he was running the offense. And they tried to move to a wide zone running scheme like the Eagles are doing right now. And when it doesn't work, it looks like garbage because you have all these open gaps. And that's what it looked like to him. And I go, oh boy. No, I think Mailata kind of explained that a little bit in that they were, to his description, they were put on the boxing gloves. They were just wanted to beat them up, and you got to be more again, disciplined than that. So I don't know if it's going to help. I mean, that's none of us know, but I mean, there are holes to this. Like I think it's the nature of, oh, this is great because they're doing it, and that they just did it a different way and had one of the greatest rushing offenses literally of all time in 2024. And even before that, from 21 to 24, one of the top 5 rushing offenses in the NFL. So I don't know if this is the be all end all to fixing things. Other than it has shown flashes. But there's a lot of room for ugliness in this as well, which I think people overlook. And Greg brought that up. Like if you don't, it's like anything else. If you don't execute and you're leaving open and you're not hitting your angles, there's even more room for defenders to get into the backfield. So if you have an instinctive Luke Kuechly type, I mean, he'll knife that shit right away.
Yeah, right. Now, I don't know how many Luke Kuechly
I don't know. Yeah,
types there are.
exactly. Well, there aren't. Luckily, there aren't. But you get the point. I mean, there's room to if you're not hitting your angles, that things could get ugly quickly.
So makes sense.